Sophie always remembered the way her grandmother's hands trembled as she pressed the tiny golden key into her palm. It was a curious thing, delicate and ornate, its bow carved with looping filigree that caught the light and sent flecks of gold dancing across the parlor walls. There was no note, no explanation, just her grandmother's whispered words. "This is for you, Sophie. Someday you'll understand." For weeks after the funeral, Sophie carried the key everywhere she went. She tried it on every lock in her grandmother's house: old chests, jewelry boxes, rusty doors, even the ancient garden gate that had long been sealed shut. The key fit none of them. It simply rested in her hand, cool and weighty, as if waiting for her to discover its purpose. People told her to let it go, that it was just a keepsake, a symbol of love from someone who was gone. But Sophie could not shake the feeling that there was more to the key than that. It became a silent companion, slipping into the pocket of every coat, tucked beneath her pillow at night. She found herself turning it over in her fingers when she was nervous, tracing the pattern with her thumb. It was as if the key itself was alive, humming with secrets. As spring melted into summer, Sophie's life moved forward in small, hesitant steps. She started a new job at the quirky bookstore downtown, filling her days with the scent of paper and the quiet hush of turning pages. She made friends, tentative and new, people who laughed easily and shared their dreams over steaming mugs of coffee. Still, the key remained, its mystery unresolved. One rainy afternoon, Sophie found herself wandering the city, lost in thought. The rain pattered against her umbrella, turning the world into a blur of gray and gold. She ducked into a narrow alley, drawn by the flicker of something familiar, a golden glint on wet cobblestones. She stooped to pick up a coin, only to realize it was not gold at all, just a trick of the light. She laughed at herself, the sound echoing strangely in the empty lane. At the alley's end, she paused before a wall plastered with faded posters and graffiti. Something about it tugged at her memory, a sense of déjà vu, as if she'd been here before. She reached into her pocket, fingers closing around the key, and suddenly she remembered a story her grandmother used to tell. "When I was a girl," her grandmother had said, "I found a key in the garden. I never found its lock, but I like to believe it opened something wonderful." Sometimes having the key is enough to remind you that there's always a way through, even if you can't see the door. Sophie smiled at the memory, warm despite the rain. She pressed her palm against the wall, half expecting something magical to happen. Of course, nothing did. The key remained what it had always been, mysterious, unresolved. Days turned into weeks, and Sophie's life unfolded in ordinary ways. She read books, wrote in her journal, and met new people. The key's mystery faded into the background, a quiet echo rather than a constant ache. Sometimes she would hold it and wonder what her grandmother had meant. Other times, she simply accepted it as a part of herself, a piece of her past she carried forward. Then, one autumn evening, Sophie attended a gathering at the bookstore. It was a celebration of stories, readers and writers sharing their words, their voices weaving together in the cozy glow of lamplight. Sophie listened, enchanted, as a poet spoke about doors and thresholds, about the spaces we carry within us. Afterward, Sophie found herself in conversation with a stranger, a woman with silver hair and eyes that sparkled with mischief. They spoke of books and dreams, of the little mysteries that shape our lives. Sophie mentioned the key, laughing at her own obsession. The woman listened, her gaze intent. "Sometimes," she said softly, "the key isn't meant for a door in the world. Sometimes it's meant for a door inside you." Sophie blinked, the words settling over her like a hush. She looked down at the key, its golden surface gleaming in the lamplight. For the first time, she wondered if she had been searching in the wrong places all along. That night, Sophie sat by her window, the city lights flickering outside. She held the key in her hand, closing her eyes. She thought of her grandmother, of the kindness in her voice, the strength in her gentle hands. She thought of all the times she'd felt lost and uncertain, searching for answers in the world around her. Slowly, Sophie realized the truth. The key was never meant to open a door she could see. It was a reminder that she already held what she needed: the courage to move forward, the curiosity to seek out new possibilities. the hope that there was always more to discover. The next morning, Sophie woke with a sense of clarity she had not felt in years. She tucked the key into her pocket, not as a puzzle to be solved, but as a talisman, a symbol of her grandmother's faith in her and her own growing faith in herself. She began to take risks, to say yes to new adventures, to open herself to the world in ways she never had before. The key became a part of her story, woven into the fabric of her days. It reminded her that some mysteries are not meant to be solved, but cherished, that sometimes the greatest doors we open are the ones within our own hearts. Years later, Sophie would find herself telling her own granddaughter a story about a small golden key. She would press it into her palm, whispering words of hope and wonder. And as the child's eyes widened with curiosity, Sophie would smile, knowing that the true magic of the key was not in the lock it opened, but in the journey it inspired. For in the end, the key without a door had changed her life. Not by revealing a hidden room or a secret treasure, but by unlocking the courage to live fully, to embrace uncertainty, and to believe in the possibility of magic, wherever it might be found.